Thank you, and I'd like to first start by thanking Denise for coming in over the break to post for the, thank you for coming in over spring break to post this for us. I really appreciate it. We all struggled to pull our calendars together over vacation, and I really appreciate you posting it in the school for us, so thank you. We all appreciate you doing that.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you. We're all here. Roll call. All here? Here. Okay. We have approval of the agenda, but I understand, Ed, that we are missing, we have one of the sets of minutes. We need to amend the agenda for one of the sets of minutes.
Yeah, so the minutes mentioned 218 and 39, there's 225.
Okay.
Somebody needs to take a look at those. We have them here. Thank you.
You sent them out electronically, right?
Okay.
So we don't see them? Okay. I just didn't put them on, so sorry about that.
So, you motion to approve the agenda with the amendment to include approval of minutes from 215 as well? Or 220, sorry, 225.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Public comment? Anybody have a public comment for me? Oh, so sorry.
We also need to
Approve
just
this
approve,
agenda.
yeah, well, we approved the agenda, we need to approve the 3 sets of minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, we do that, okay.
Yeah.
I have read them, and I would motion to approve.
I've read them as well.
I've read all of them. Thank you, Ed, for doing them.
Thank you, as I said.
Right.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Great. A lot of them.
We have Gerald Mine.
Thank you.
Hi, Gerald Miney. I'd just like to say, despite all the current hostilities going on towards the board members, I just want to thank you guys for all the hard work and dedication that you've given the branch line, and staff and students. I really appreciate all the time you volunteer to come to these meetings, and I know the work in the background that you do takes away from your families and work and stuff, and I appreciate that. And also, while I'm aware of the rights afforded to individuals under the Open Meetings Act, I stand in protest of videotaping of these meetings. I don't think it serves any purpose. Don't understand why the need for it now when in the past there was no need for it. And I think that all it does is bring an adversarial mood to these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your comments.
I have public comment, but I'm still in the process of writing down what I need to say on the sheet, but I'd like to stand up and speak my piece, please.
Okay.
Sam Youssef. So, it's great that Jerry brought up the comment about videotaping. I think that everybody should know that we're videotaping just so we have a gold source about what's said here in the board meetings, and we can go back and refer to it in addition to meetings minutes to make sure that there's absolutely no confusion, and it's literal. It's just kind of record holding, if you will. We can go back and refer to it, so there's no confusion. The thing I have some confusion about is there's a letter that you guys were, actually you, Stacy, you were given on February 25th. It was from SVSU, and it was it was given to you by the authorizer, Craig Douglas. I have it right here. You were told, directive from Craig himself, to, it says right here, we require that you post this letter in its entirety in the place where Branchline Board traditionally posts its notice of activities, as well as in the Branchline website. This is the full-on investigation at the state level of the board and the leadership team of this school. In true transparency, you guys need to make people aware of this in this school. Also, I'm curious, why wouldn't you post this like the authorizer has asked on the website and on the front door? I mean, this involves our school, it's serious. The allegations are that of very basic things like interparent staff situations, all the way up to mishandling of federal funds. So I don't understand why this isn't posted so that everybody is in true transparency. This is a small school. We need to do this as a team. And when we don't act like a team, it's very difficult. And the only way to act like a team is with true honesty and transparency. You know, some people may interpret things as hostile. I think that what's trying to be achieved here is total transparency, total honesty, and total commitment from everybody to be honest. The most basic thing you're taught when you're brought up as a child, just to be honest and, you know, do your due diligence to do things ethically and morally as best you can. This school is too small to have these kind of problems. I don't know what it's going to take to right things, but things like this paint you guys in a bad picture, and people can misinterpret it. So if you want to avoid those things, you need to be forthcoming with this kind of information.
Thank you for your comment.
If anybody would like to have a copy of this as well, I have plenty of copies.
Any other public comment?
Yes, I have a public comment. I will give you this as soon as I read it. I'm Melissa Youssef. The following questions that I am asking, I would appreciate them to be answered on Branchline School letterhead and by next Friday, the 17th of April. I would like to know how many students were enrolled on the first day of school at Branchline, 9/25/2015. How many students are currently enrolled as of 4/2/2015? How many students have unenrolled since the beginning of the year, and how many new students have enrolled? And I expect complete transparency in that matter.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you for that comment.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you.
My name is Heather Kennard, and, you know, back at our cohort meetings, communication was brought up, and everybody was gonna follow through on that, because that's a huge thing since school started. And again, you know, we're told something is gonna happen, and it's not being followed through, like with posting of this meeting, being posted at 7:30 on Thursday night after school's been let out, so nobody is aware that the school board meeting's even happening. And it wasn't on the website as well. So that's,
Point of information, Madam Chair.
Please.
According to Open Meetings Act, you're only required to give 18 hours notice prior to the meeting being held. And since the notice about the meeting was posted April 4th on the Branchline School website, and according to what I read, it was posted Thursday evening at the school door, which is what's required. They met the requirements of it.
Jerry, you might want to add that if they reschedule a meeting, they have 3 days to repost it, and they fell short of that. So that is a violation of the Open Meetings Act.
No,
It is. Read it.
I did. I read the amended article last night.
Ask the attorney that's investigating, he'll
Yeah.
let you know.
Well, I'm sure the board conferred with the lawyer to make sure they were on the up and up.
This is a third-party, state-bound investigator that is investigating the school
Mr.
publicly,
Youssef,
Georgie.
you're out of line. Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. Are there any more, any sentences?
that's fine.
Okay,
You
thank
guys
you.
don't really care what we have to say.
No, actually, we care very much. We care very much.
If you cared, then why didn't you post the letter from Craig Douglas?
Are there any other public comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thanks.
I'm Marcy Kedger. I'm kind of piggybacking off of what Sam had asked about the letter. I was asking when will it be posted to the parents? And what does the board anticipate the outcome is going to be? And would like a response, a written response back via email would be fine.
Okay.
And I did include my email address.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you for your question. Okay. Any other public comment?
No, it's, I mean, it's just a little ironic that you guys post it after school's let out for spring break, you know, it's like, I don't know. It just seems shady with all the other stuff that has happened, you know, and has gone on.
Well, and I have one more piece of public comment as well, please. You know, there's a meeting that took place on March 9th that was deliberation over which investigator was going to be used for this investigation that was a third party. And I don't think anybody is aware that this special meeting happened. I spoke with George Butler himself, the investigator that is present, and he said the only thing he saw was what was posted on the door shortly after you arrived, Stacy. No other parent had seen it the entire day.
This is an open meeting, but it is not meant.
Well, that's my,
this type
but
of
that's my
dialogue.
but that's my comment. My
We're
comment is,
moving-
why wasn't this
thank you
meeting
for your
posted?
comment. We're moving on to the instructional lead report.
So I can't have a public comment about why this wasn't posted?
You've had your time.
Wow.
Denise. Okay, forgive me, I am not feeling well and I have to be all three of us today, so. As far as the instructional lead report is, I'll be reading Margaret's piece first. This month, each of the teachers were subbed out by a leader to meet with the curriculum specialist. The Explorers met as a group. We've also begun covering rooms so that they are receiving an additional prep time once per week per the plan outline. We are still working with Wayne Reset to get computerized report cards completed. In the meantime, they've created an in-house report card that has been used. Teachers use their professional development day on 3/20 to complete report cards. Conferences were held on the 26th and 27th of March.
Sorry, parent-teacher conferences?
Yes, ma'am, yeah.
Just the back.
A concern from parents has been around backing off of projects. We took an opportunity to look at projects that have been completed this year, and so far 18 projects have been completed or are in progress. Presentations have been taking place, they're taking place on 3/12 and 3/13 for explorers, navigators, and innovators.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Okay.
And then for my operational report, there will be board policies that are required to be voted on. I see those will happen in new business later in the meeting. We interviewed an additional substitute vendor with the help of Dr. Plum, and I did that together. We outlined a new procedure for staff, and that has been submitted to staff, so they have a full procedure around substitute time and requesting that information and the process around that. Spring pupil accounting process is complete. All of the information's been sent to the state and to Lead Resa. There will be an on-site audit scheduled soon, so I'm waiting to hear on a date from Wayne Resa. There was supposed to be a landlord meeting on the 19th of March, but that is going to be rescheduled, so I expect that to happen either the 2 weeks after we come back for break. We did receive, I should say, the quote that came in for redoing the parking lot, because as you all have driven over it over the last couple months, you understand where we're at with that, but it's a large chunk of change. It's $107,000, so it's very expensive. That's one of the things we'll be discussing in our meeting, and we'll see what comes of that, so I'll keep you posted. And then the final thing for me is to review the implementation grant budget. You all have a copy of that. It's the last
Yes.
page in your packets there. It's a $100,000 grant. There are three pages of intended purchase items here. We have, this information has been highly informed by the teachers as far as what they need in their classrooms. There's a large portion of it devoted to technology. There are manipulatives and project kits for all subjects. The largest chunk, as you can see, comes in text, iPads, Chromebooks, things of that nature. The state has an initiative that they're hoping all schools will follow as far as one-to-one technology for students. This grant will allow us to align that, as well as additional supplies in the core subjects, our art program as well. So it's pretty detailed here. Once I have approval on that, we will upload this into the state system. They'll give us a start date and we can begin purchasing items. The grant closes out mid-May, so we are on a tight timeline here. And we'll have to begin issuing POs and starting the process right away.
Can you step back, Denise?
Sure.
And walk us through, this has been applied for, we've received it, this is from the
We've
state?
been awarded $100,000. However, the next piece is to upload this full
spreadsheet along with a narrative that explained how we're using these things, what our primary purposes are for them, how they will be implemented in the school.
Okay, when did we receive notice that we were the recipients of this $100,000?
About 2 months ago.
Okay, thank you. And it was competitive, I'm assuming? Or
It's
is it just
geared to for new schools.
everybody is given this amount?
You can apply for it, yes, we were granted it. We had year 1 last year, and this is the second phase of the grant.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So there's no year 3,
No, it's
use it or lose it.
correct.
And so the timing is gonna be pretty critical then, for
Yeah.
issuance of POs and the turnaround time?
Yeah, how are you going to do that? Are you going to be doing bids? Are you going, what's the process? Can you walk us through that? You just order them, you have to do POs?
Yes, you issue the POs that align with the items here,
Right.
and then, once those are all out, we can request the funds to be drawn down, and then we match them up with the, the state then has to see all the canceled checks, the copies of the invoices, the POs that match them,
Do you have to do a separate PO for each item,
each vendor.
each vendor? So Heineman, anything from Heineman, anything from Lake Shore?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any idea, just, I'm sorry, approximately how many you're going to be issuing? I mean, is it gonna be 10, is it gonna be 50? It's a lot of different vendors.
I mean, not a ton, I would say probably between 20 and 30.
I'm just trying to get a sense of how much time is going to be
Oh,
involved in
yeah.
that, a lot.
Do you need any help writing the POs?
Right.
Do you need any help writing the POs?
I'm gonna ask Miss Cindy to help me.
Okay.
Yes.
Will Advance be able to provide any assistance?
I can talk to them about that, typically that's not their scope.
Right, that doesn't, what they do.
They won't do, okay.
Okay. I'm just concerned about the time involved. This is what I see
I
in
mean,
this
I know I'll
document.
be here on the
You're gonna be
weekends,
here.
and, yeah,
Yeah.
but it needs to get done, it's a large amount of money that our school desperately needs, and it has to happen, so.
But you cannot afford to leave any money on the table.
Right. Denise clearly knows that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
I just, how
Yeah.
can we help you, how can we support you?
I mean, if you have a standard form of writing it, I mean, you each take a few names off there and write the PO.
Oh, that's, I mean,
You sure? I mean,
yeah,
okay.
thank you, I think it's one of those things that sometimes
Yeah.
Okay.
there's
you
more
just do
involved
that.
in explaining it than,
There's- there's all-
but I appreciate that, thank you.
Oh, this is amazing, what I'm seeing here.
I'm excited, the teachers are excited, there's a lot,
This is just amazing. All of this curriculum. All of the technology that we're going to be getting. From a pencil
So then-
sharpener to,
right.
to kits for math.
So then will this dovetail with what is happening with curriculum then?
Yes, we made
This-
sure.
Okay. Okay.
I will say though, Denise, I am seeing 17 cents on the table.
I was waiting for someone to say that today, yes.
Perhaps a pack of, I don't know, a piece of gum. I don't know.
One pencil?
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot, okay.
It looks good
Let's
to me.
thank you.
And we don't have to do anything about bidding because it's over $10,000. There's nothing,
Well, like
Yes,
for
Dave.
instance, the iPads, I mean, they're the only vendor.
It's the only vendor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
it's the
so
only
there
vendor.
is just,
That was the only one, 'cause I was looking through that myself, and I think that's the
Right.
only one that's
That's
above
over
that.
$10,000, yeah.
The other one got close, $9,995, but it's still less than,
Less than $10,000,
so-
that's a single bid.
yeah, and there's nowhere to get an Apple iPad other than through Apple, or from Apple sourced.
we're going to be getting new chairs, new tables. I can't believe how much is coming. With these new furniture items, what is the plan for the old items? Are you gonna be selling them?
There are no old items, we desperately need to increase. I need to have that voted on
have to vote?
Yes.
You have to have the motion first. So I'm going to say that I make a motion to approve the BLS grant ordering.
Happily second.
And I'd like the board,
Aye.
I say thank you for doing all this work. And we understand how much work is going to be involved in placing the order for all of this. And we appreciate in advance
Thank you.
the work that you'll be doing.
Okay, now I will be Molly.
Okay.
Survey, staff, student, and parent analysis have been completed and discussed by leadership. She's following up on outlining outstanding issues. Enrollment update. There's been required interested family meetings underway for newly enrolled families. Once we receive all documentation from new families and they're completely enrolled, they're required to come to a new family meeting. So she's been conducting those. Exit interviews have been emailed to recently departed families. As of yesterday, she said that, well, the exit interviews went out on March 19th, and as of yesterday, she's had no replies yet. So she'll keep you posted on that. And then the suggestion box, wishes and wonders forms we've talked about in the past as far as, there was a copy of a sample here, so something that she's been working on.
I don't think I know about it.
We talked, a little bit about a suggestion box and
Oh,
what that would
okay.
look like in the world of branch line and, what I wish for, what I wonder about, those kinds of things. So we're looking at putting up a box right in front of the office as well, so it's easily accessible and folks can drop something in there, and that would be a great way to start up conversations or begin leadership meetings, things of that nature, so.
I
Kind of open up that communication portal.
have a quick question. So the exit interviews, are they batched like once or twice a year so that they're completely anonymous? So that folks who respond, are they batched so that there's complete anonymity so people can feel, that they're anonymous when they respond? Or
Yeah.
does she tell them that? Or, you know what I mean? Like, how do we set it up so people know that their responses are totally anonymous?
I hear what you're saying, and I would defer to Molly to
Okay.
answer that, because I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll ask her.
But that is it for her.
Okay, and again, knowing that you are not Molly, but that you are being Molly, the exit interviews, I didn't know until now that they were done by email. I thought they were attempted to be done in person.
She tries to do them in person, but if she can't make contact, then this is a secondary
Or,
form.
yeah, I thought it was snail mail, like US Postal Service.
I believe, again,
Okay,
we can clarify with her.
Okay.
Okay, and the other question, knowing that you're not as Molly, but we've also requested just a number of families who have left each month. We don't need to know the names.
Yeah, if any, so.
Yeah, we've requested that in her reports.
And join.
New members, new families, and families who have left. And since you're operations manager, could you give us that number? Do you know? Ms. Denise, I'm assuming that you know.
I do not know off the top of my head.
But I can tell you a little bit when we do the financial committee report.
Okay, thank you. So if you could pass that on to Ms. Molly, that we'd love to have those numbers each month in her report.
I made a note, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I've got some other questions. But Alan, you've got a question?
Oh, no.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. The survey, I don't believe I've seen the results of the survey, just a synopsis. Has that come from Ms. Molly? In previous board meeting?
Again, a synopsis, I'm not sure if she has sent that out. I don't believe so. If you haven't seen it, then no.
Well, but I don't.
I can make a note that she can send that to you next time as well.
Okay, again, a synopsis, it doesn't need to be that. And the other question, is that going to be shared with the whole school community via Branch Line Express and or the website?
I believe that's what we've talked about in the past, isn't it?
Right. Right, so I'm just following up on that.
Okay, got my notes.
Thank you. Two more questions. I know that getting subs for the teachers, long-term subs and short-term subs has been a concern of the school community in the past. So I understand from your report that Branchline School has connected with an organization, is it like PEGS? Which is the state organization that feeds subs to schools?
PRG is the name of the company?
Yeah. So you're now, Branchline School is now connected with that
Yes.
to provide subs?
Yes.
Okay.
The company you just mentioned, we researched last year,
Mhm.
and they're very expensive. So we were looking into other options.
Okay, so you have made a commitment to this organization, or you're still exploring? I
We're
just didn't-
working with them to move forward, but they've been very, very great about offering us a discounted rate as we go forward and make this connection with them and then move into a future relationship.
Okay, can you walk us through the process for that? I've only worked as a teacher applying for subs, I've never worked on it from the other angle, what a school has to do to request subs. I didn't know that there was a cost involved in it. I didn't know that you had
yeah,
to be
it's very expensive.
a membership organization.
Well, they vet the candidates and, try to match them with your needs as much as possible.
Right, I
And
know that
you
work.
request them, I mean, you can do it as quickly as 2 hours ahead of, school starting. But we can also do it in advance if we know a teacher's going to be off for an event. So, one of the things that's very nice about working with this organization is that they're flexible, they understand where we're coming from, they understand that we have a specialized school
Curriculum.
here and curriculum, and they were very open to working with that.
Okay, can you give us a sense of the cost
It was $90 per day,
that the school pays?
correct.
Okay, that's very little.
That's not,
Well, that's a negotiated rate that will last us in the short term, and then we'll be extending that as we go forward. So we'll have to work that into our budget for next year.
What's the
what is
typical
their
rate
typical
though?
rate?
$120.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
so,
And is there a minimum yearly number of days you have to use?
No, not right now.
Okay. Is there a contract fee,
No,
a sign-on fee with them?
no. There was with the other company, so there's a big difference in pricing and just corporate structure. There's a big difference.
so I'm sorry Denise, I thought that you had said that it was a big expense to be part of this organization that provides substitute teachers.
You pay on an as-needed basis.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Okay,
the
thank
last
you.
one, there was a,
Correct.
the last one had the annual fee.
Correct.
Okay, the big one, the one that's used at the state, okay, thank you.
And this company will invoice us. The other company, wanted to pull directly from your bank account. There were differences in many different aspects of the company.
Okay. And they provide short-term subs and long-term subs?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, and then my last question was about the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we all know that the parking lot does need to be resurfaced. I'm assuming that the school and the church are going to get bids?
Yes.
Okay.
And just the one has come in. I mean, it's
Percentage
something
of
we
it
need
was
to
a-
talk about in the sense that that is truly a landlord
Is she right?
expense but, again, this was just a one-time, the first time I saw the bid, so we're gonna need to have some discussion around that.
Okay, but as fiduciary responsibility
Yeah,
for the board, I just want to make sure that that's going to happen. Now,
Oh,
ex
absolutely.
landlord,
Absolutely.
right,
I was gonna say, so this is a landlord expense.
This is what we'd
Completely?
have to discuss prior to a
Right.
budget coming.
Right.
This is why I wanna have this meeting with them now.
Okay.
right.
Just, right,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, somebody probably from the finance, if they would like to explore any cost sharing, someone from the finance committee and the board probably should be at
Well,
the
that's my
table,
intent, is to
because-
meet with them and then bring that to the
Okay.
finance committee, so.
Because right now, with our deficit,
Yes.
the answer would be
I understand.
gravel with shovels.
I understand.
Okay, we'll do it, we'll bring some sand or whatever, cause we need books,
Right,
so,
priorities.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
Our kids need chairs and things, okay, so the church can, right.
I just
Okay.
simply wanted to give you an
Okay.
idea of how
Thank you.
expensive it is.
Thank you, yes, but, so if they wanna do any cost sharing, though, somebody from the board and the finance committee should be there, okay.
Okay,
Understood, yeah.
I have no more questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in on
Thank
your
you for coming
vacation,
in.
especially when you're sick. Thank you for all the amazing work you do.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you for saying that.
And Molly not here, are there any other questions for Denise? with Molly not here, we'll probably table recruitment and retention. For financial committee, Alan, did you want me to?
Yeah, I'd like somebody to walk us through.
Ed? I'm sorry.
We had a GPS.
Oh, I'm sorry,
line
I
in
flew
there.
right through that, because I had drawn a line through, it said our educational consultant report. I'm so sorry, our educational, I drew a
Looking
line
out for
through that,
time.
said educational consultant.
Get on my way.
George and Chris?
Oh, thank you. So Chris Plum and George Tomey, thanks for giving us the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I want to hand out a couple of things. Actually, oh wait, I can have them out by your chair. Yeah, at last month's regularly scheduled board meeting, we had made a commitment to the board that we would be working over the ensuing 30 days to meet with parents, meet with stakeholders, connect with teachers and leadership, connect with students, which has been a lot of fun, and support the leadership in the facilitating of parent connection meetings. Though I don't have, unfortunately, I was just explaining to George, it would have been great if I had an exact number of parents that attended, but I can tell you that we met by cohort, which was a suggestion that came up at the leadership meeting, and from our perspective, the meetings were very well attended. We provided plenty of different time opportunities for parents to come. The idea was just wanting to make sure that they got there. It wasn't about having a meeting to have a meeting. It was having a meeting where we could get down to some business and some work and hear and also share. And we did share. We shared with parents 2 documents, and for the board meeting members who were at the meetings, forgive me, but I'm going to hand them out to you again. Essentially, we handed out a curricular framework document, and this is the document that all the participants received. Some parents came to multiple meetings, and that was fine. They received multiple copies of the documents. And we wanted to make sure everybody understood what were in the documents. And we also handed out an action plan for a 30, 60, 90-day action plan where we outlined, along with the leadership team, challenges, projects, things that needed to be done, essentially what we were going to be pouring into collectively in 30, 60, and 90 days. And if you look at the first document first, the branch line ways of thinking, just some really rich conversation that we had with parents and with staff in the meetings and leadership around what is this place branch line, right? And philosophically, let's talk about the mission, and let's talk about, we had in this very room real rich conversations around intellectual freedom. What does that mean for us today? And people's interpretation of that. We went through the curricular framework, sort of what you'd see when you look in a branch line classroom. The pieces where instructionally and from a curricular standpoint, we collectively need to hold ourselves accountable for implementing. And the meetings, as I said, it was really great conversation. We went through the educational goals, gave people an opportunity to ask questions, and really tried to provide clarification around some pieces, and then got a lot of really useful feedback around a lot of the pieces. And again, the process is iterative. What we did take away from the meetings also is that, the need for continued meetings like those, I think is there. These connection meetings, keeping them going, talking with stakeholders around getting involved in the different processes that are here, outlined here. So very positive response. We tried to be very intentional around reading those rooms and making people feel as comfortable as we could. We did check-ins at the beginning and check-outs just to see what kind of impact the meetings had on folks. And from our perspective, they were very positive. And then if you look at so that's the branch line ways of thinking. I wanted us to make sure I made mention of this to the board as well. When I was here before the board at the last meeting, I had sort of made an invitation or a plea or a recommendation for a board education committee to be formed to work with us through these pieces. Still on the table. I think it would be really important for us to sit down around these pieces, particularly as we're moving into planning for the coming year and looking at what's coming ahead.
Before we go any further, I've got some questions, if I may?
Yes, ma'am.
Or do you want me to wait till the end?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay. Curious how many meetings you held? How many meetings were held?
Well, let's see, we did, I felt like we were meeting a lot. Well, yeah, we did we did a meeting for each cohort.
Tell her,
Yep, so 4 cohort meetings. We got a suggestion from a parent who said, hey, really appreciate the fact that you're having meetings, but it would, yeah, just looked over and made eye contact with the parent. But I'm sorry, put you up there. But it was great feedback around, hey, if we can't make this particular cohort meetings, what happens to a parent who's working, or can they come to another cohort meeting? And we were thinking, wow.
3 cohort meetings and a 4th was the catch-all, right? 3 cohorts, and then there was a 4th that.
Well, help me here, no, because we met with Pathfinders too.
Four.
Pathfinders as well, yes, we did. Yep, we met with Pathfinders as well, and so those were the 4 sort of formal meetings that we had, the connection meetings, and then we had, we couldn't come up with a better word for it, but it was like a catch-all meeting, which was at the end of the month in an evening, just in case you missed any, and parents were made aware that, hey, if you come to this, you may be sitting next to an innovator parent, you may be a Pathfinder parent, but we're going through some of the same material, so that was very helpful.
There were actually people who were at one of the previous meetings that came, many that came.
And the cohort meetings were held during the day or evening?
5.
We had
3:45.
Yep, different
After
times,
school.
mornings, after school, and then of course the catch-all meeting was late, like 5:30, just to make sure we could try to get everybody, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
There's
And
also an attempt to establish a pattern for having these kinds of meetings for parents who are supposedly involved, to have the opportunity to air out what a board can't handle at a board meeting and really shouldn't. So this is a place to do that, it's a forum to do that, if it's done right. And then you also have your committees that you'll be forming that will give parents and board members and everyone an opportunity to weigh in on all the issues that it seems as though there's an expectation that the board kind of handle everything, and really and truly the work is divided up much more democratically than that typical place. So unfortunately, you kind of you're getting some backflow from that.
Okay, and was this document given to the people, this was given to everybody at the meeting? This does not
Yes.
reflect what happened after the meeting? This was the talking
Yes,
points?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
thank
right.
you.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure
It's
I
not minutes
understood
from
that.
those meetings,
No, yeah, it was this is the document.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And approximately how many parent families were represented total in all the meetings?
Well, there was some overlap,
Right,
but folks that showed up more than once, and I'll bet it was, I missed one of them, but 50, I want to say.
50 families?
50 families were probably
That's
about
great.
40
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably
So
safe to
that's
say, I
about
mean,
That's
Pathfinders.
Yeah, no, that's all I'm asking.
And we ran them all in a circle format, so it was kind of tough, we took as much space as we could. Pathfinder meeting, that was packed,
Because you had couples and individuals who came, so.
Right,
I have
that's
to-
what I'm asking for
We're trying
families.
to do that
Right.
math with that in mind.
Okay, so that's about 3/4 of the families were represented?
that's a rough number, I mean, we have the sign-in sheets, we can get that.
No,
number.
I just wanted to.
50 to 70%, I'll
Okay.
bet is a safe range.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like they were, yeah.
I stand corrected if you correct me.
I won't. I shan't do it. But yeah, overall, they were well attended. And then the response was also, from our perspective, positive around the project report. It seemed that families were just sort of, real eager and I think relieved to see sort of in black and white, hey, here's a plan to address some of these things. Here's how and by whom and when we're gonna be doing them. This was admittedly, this was very ambitious, you know, for us to put all these things out in 30 days, and we kind of knew it, and, but we, as a team, you know, sort of stuck to it, and we're gonna get after these things, and we're just gonna start really trying to get them pinned down and get some traction around them. We asked families, you know, that, hey, we're being transparent with these pieces, work with us. Not everything is gonna be perfect on here, we may not hit all of our targets right on the day, but understand that we're putting pieces in place to get these done collectively. And you know, parents were also asking how they can be helpful in these processes. It was really great. So you can see in there. There were pieces where we had to pivot, you know, one of the pieces being working with the standards-based report card. We knew, hey, we have to come with a guaranteed and viable report card that's standards-based. It might be that we need to work with the Zangle folks in parallel so that we can hit this mark, and the leadership team said, yep, let's do it, let's nail it. We actually even were able to you know, run some samples by some stakeholders well in advance. Do you think this is gonna work, et cetera. So these were the two documents. Want to give you those, you can review them. And you know, we'll be back again, of course, next month, and if you've got questions, we're also committed to meeting with parents, and in the leadership team, meeting with parents on an ongoing basis to talk about how we're doing with these things.
Are there any other issues that may come up that we can feel confident in addressing?
And did you call these town hall meetings?
No, we did not.
Okay.
No, we did not.
We could.
Family connection meetings.
Family connections, okay.
Because, you know, really for us, town hall sort of signaled and messaged something a little different.
Right,
you
that's
know?
why I'm curious what you.
Yeah, so
But
We
it's-
were presenting information on the plan,
Mhm.
so that ed plan, I mean, parts of the ed plan that
Right.
had to do with mission and the
I
branch
see
line
the
ways. And
correlation.
then the 30-60-90 plan was really about presenting that and getting that in front of everybody to digest and ruminate and come back with any responses in any ensuing meeting.
Yeah, and the idea is that you know, we are connecting around these things. We're not simply disseminating things. We're not doing this to you. We're doing this with you. So we're all.
It's an interactive kind of process. It is stated there what we're planning to do, what we're supporting administration in doing, and what we're bringing our own set of experience to. But it was also interactive around if people had an important issue with something, that we would listen to it and go back and adjust if need be.
Well, this
So
is,
that was the plan.
I'm sorry, it's a tremendous amount of work,
It
and
is.
it's,
This is a great
this is
job.
the first time seeing it, so I like to digest it, there's a lot that went into this.
It's good reading tonight. You
There
can
you
skip
go,
TV and
how did you know?
do that.
I'll say I saw it at the meetings. I was at 2 meetings with my 2 kids. And I thought the meetings overall went well. I mean, to me, this is, again, what we've been talking about, trying to get the plan out and really be very clear about what the plan has been and really has been since early part of this year.
This is what we talked about a year ago
Yeah.
when Chris and we talked about bringing GPS on when we first met
And I think,
a
you know,
year ago July.
yeah, and
When
I
we
think
talked a
it's-
year ago, this is
and
what we
it's-
wanted.
yeah, and I just wanted to say
What we
thank
talked
you
about.
for your work on this.
A lot of
But
work.
again, I think it's important that, yes, good communication have been better as we got through the first part of the year, and we had bumps in the road, yes. But this has been the plan, and this clearly shows what our plan is, so, thank you.
It's sort of an editorial comment before I get to a recommendation that GPS is making to the board. You know, I've started several schools, Chris and I between us have started several schools, and it's not like flying a plane, there isn't, we had that metaphor earlier, but it's not like flying a plane where there's a nice easy takeoff and then there's a nice landing. There are things you learn along the way because it's really hard with that many moving parts to anticipate all the needs. It's great that you get the level feedback that you get. And sometimes it's the patience with responding to those things that's really critical. And it's trying to help, and I heard the word teamwork, and I was thinking about that, responding to it. And teamwork is about, you know, if you think of geese and how they fly in that echelon, and when a goose drops off, there's one or two will go back to help it get back to the pack. That is my sense of teamwork, that is my belief in it. And the cooperation and the collaboration that takes place is really important. important. And you get that, watch geese sometimes, just stop and watch them, they really fly tight, they fly in a tight peloton and they fly together really well. And that's because of the need for the group to get to the end, not for an individual or not to, they don't, and they only honk encouragement, they don't honk, you know, with regards to, you're not going fast enough or whatever. So that's an important perspective too. And I think that having been through these growing pains before, it's really important that we are nurturing in a process like this as much as we can be. And that doesn't mean that there isn't dissent and there isn't disagreement, but that nurturing is what drives and creating and bringing together is what drives the process. I just have to say that having been in education a long, long time like you have, and I think you said I remembered, and I've been in a lot of places and a lot of levels, and the energy is important to harness and move forward. Now, that having been said, my little editorial comment that older people get to do when they want, GPS is making a recommendation that the board needs to decide around, and as we got under the hood here and started to dig around and get dirty, we found that there are some needs that have to be met administratively that we don't see the resources available at this point. And GPS is recommending that it push in a little more to support the administration, having been to lead meetings and been in classrooms, and that's where we spend the bulk of our time, that we saw that this stuff is needed, but how do we get some of these compliance things and some of this bureaucratic stuff that's necessary? That is just an obligation, flat out an obligation. So we're recommending an adjustment to administrative resources, that we would come in and maybe push in and do a little more support around the instructional side. We don't see much change in the operations and cultural side, but on the instructional side, that we come in and pick up some slack there, so that some of the stuff like school improvement plan, like testing, all this obligations that are critical to get done by the end of the year, that we have, with only a half-time resource, that we give that person the opportunity to get that stuff done, and we're recommending that we pick up some of that slack. I'd also recommend to the board, it's something that just came up sitting here, that you get, by the way, the attrition rates. We're familiar with attrition rates, and I've heard that question get brought up. There's a national average and there is a statewide average, and you're gonna find, if you're an outlier, you'll know right away, but the fact is, it's anywhere between, I can tell you, it's anywhere between 20 to 30%. That's not an untypical number. So
For new
I would,
schools and,
for
all schools.
charter schools.
And public schools?
Well, no, not traditional
Okay.
public, because they're community bound, so that's a little different.
Okay, for charter schools.
But for charter schools,
The
there's an
average in a
average
year?
attrition kind of rate, you're gonna get a range, and you're gonna find that you're likely in that range. And I know that our worst years were, and I had a traditional public that functioned like a charter school, my last one, and your range is as much as 30%. Sounds like a gaudy number, but it's
Yeah.
not, because there's lots of reasons why people leave. And there's and they're innocent. They're just as innocent. So if you get an average and you use an average, a baseline, get a baseline like any good data work. Get a baseline, check it and see if where you sit on either side of that, or you might sit right smack dab in the middle of it. The likelihood is you will, by the way. And try to compare apples to apples, and instead of looking at a number and deciding
Thank you.
by itself. Okay, so we recommend the resource adjustment administration. You guys have to decide on that. That's not something we're by fiat that we would do. And then I'd also recommend you get those averages and take a look as a data-driven way of looking at this. Thank you for
Thank you.
indulging me.
Thank you, not an indulgement. I've got some follow-up questions.
Sure.
Just turn off my phone. Oh geez. The request to give more resources for administration
Well, yeah,
is coming from you.
yes.
Okay, so it's a recommendation from GPS.
Recommendation that
Right.
GPS push in a little more to help get that stuff cleared up.
Right,
Before
so I
non-end
understand
is
that.
clear.
And now I'm asking about what the response would be from the teachers
And-
without,
Yeah, and I would ask, what is that gonna look like? What does that look like?
right, that's the other part of the question, is,
Sure.
does that mean Margaret's gonna be having more hours, or going to be giving somebody else? But the first question is, does the staff see the need for that?
the staff may or may not be aware of the compliance needs that are there, by the way, because staff really gets focused, and in our being here on a daily basis in classrooms, staff gets focused on what it's doing for the students.
Right.
And that's why administration does what it's supposed to do. So they may or may not be fully aware of those compliance needs, but they're there, those obligations are there. So we saw, for it to get done well, so we don't have any more bumps in the road around this kind of stuff, that we would provide a level of help and support. That's really what the recommendation is. It's not really to supplant or to replace or do anything.
No, I
It's-
didn't,
okay.
I didn't.
And so so what that looks like, is probably, sounds like your other question, what that looks like is, right now, administration was pushing into classrooms to give teachers, you'll see on the 30, 60, 90, it's addressing some of those issues on the 30, 60, 90 by a more efficient way to do this. And one would be, an example would be, well, I go into classrooms now and let the teachers go do some planning, do some work, and I take their lesson plan and I work in all the classrooms, and on Tuesdays I'm here. So,
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, so we'd probably add a day to that, and so that someone is freed up. Molly and Margaret both use my time to get freed up to do some administrative stuff, that if they're in classrooms, once we had asked them vis-a-vis the 30, 60, 90-day plan, they're going in classrooms, that takes administrative time away, because they're there giving teachers the break that they desperately need. Well, then, the first thing we said, when we met in a leadership team meeting, and Denise was there, is I said, why don't I go into those classrooms for you and you can get your administrative work done? I'm not here to do your work, but I can do that. So that was embraced. And we do that now as a matter, so we would probably do a little more of that. That's what that support looks like. Also handling some issues that if Molly's in the classroom and Margaret's not there, if you authorize us to handle an issue, we'll handle it. You know, and with our experience, which is 60 years between us, we can probably handle most of what comes up here. I'm betting, and in the case where there isn't somebody available, so we would be available for that too. So that's the kind of support I'm talking about. It is support, make no mistake, it is not supplanting, doing for, and that's what we're aiming for, that's the recommendation we're making. Does that help answer?
Thank you, and then the next would be the cost associated with the support given.
I think what we're asking for is a detailed proposal, right?
We're just curious, in your estimation,
That's a great question.
Yeah, so no additional cost.
We've decided to commit to making sure that this place is viable and strong between now and the end of the school year. We decided to make that commitment. Once we got in, we're kind of not halfway people.
okay,
So yes, the cost is on us, frankly.
right, well, that's what I'm asking.
The
Thank you.
cost is ours.
Okay.
We're absorbing the cost.
Okay, well, that's wonderful, thank you. The need is clearly there.
We'd understand if you said no, but we wouldn't
No,
really
no.
understand.
Thank you, okay, thank you for
Thank you, that's.
explaining that, that's great news. And again, it speaks to one of the reasons why we're so thrilled with GBS is this support, the understanding about the struggles of a new school, financially, emotionally, educationally,
Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
real.
and they're all connected.
There's nothing new happening here.
That is not
Just so you
happening in
know.
all new businesses and all
Nope,
new
I hate
schools.
to break
Right.
burst anyone's bubble.
No, I know. Yeah, but it's very clear in the understanding of that and the support we're feeling. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
So you probably
Do we need
need
a
to
motion?
decide on that,
Yes.
well, you would probably
Yes.
need to decide on that, that's a recommendation, that's not
Right.
our saying we're doing this.
I still would like to see
Right.
something written up.
I would like to too.
proposes Exactly what you just.
Yeah, if it is
Sure.
a change in, I mean, we welcome it, we would love it, it is a little change in the scope, so if you could just,
Well,
jot it down
is it
for us.
really? Because
It
when-
is. It is a change in the scope it is a change in the
Okay.
scope, and it needs to
No
be,
problem.
Okay.
reflected, so
Yep,
if you could
absolutely.
just,
That's kind of one of those yes and no answers.
Yeah.
The answer is yes and no.
Right,
mhm.
okay. So then the minutes will reflect the fact that we have viewed the project report and the name of this document.
The branching ways of thinking.
Yeah, Branson, ways of thinking, okay.
You know, maybe then what we could suggest is, that we take this month coming up now to put that together for you, with
It
the,
could be just
with
a
the
one-page
idea that,
document.
yeah, with the
Yeah.
idea that we could ramp this support up into the month of May.
That would be perfect, thank
Yeah.
you.
And
That
we'll
would be-
just title it Support for Branchline Administration for the
Perfect.
remainder of the school year.
I mean, if I could say, I think that we could, I mean, we have a meeting pretty quickly following this one,
Yep, April 29th,
9th.
so
Yeah.
could you do it by the 29th? I mean,
Yeah,
there's,
it could just be
I
a
don't
few
think it
paragraphs.
needs to be difficult,
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be complex, I just think we need to formalize it, because we appreciate what you're doing, and we certainly wanna recognize what you're doing.
And we'd like to formally
And we'd
approve
like
it.
to, yes,
And
and
actually,
we'd like
that
to
works out
formally
really
approve
well,
it's
now that,
changed.
now that we're talking about it, that gives us an opportunity to, and we've already, Molly's already messaged to the parents and the stakeholders, hey, you know, in the last 30 days, here are the folks that you're gonna see around during this 30 days, but that would give us time to even clarify that message for, the stakeholders, the, you know,
Right.
parents and kids, so that's great.
So I think we can certainly reflect in the minutes that we're very supportive of it, but we just need to
Sure.
be able to approve it in a more
Absolutely.
formal way.
That's great, thank you. Did you get that?
Okay,
Okay,
that's all for us, thank you.
great, thank you very, very much.
Ellen, do you wanna start the financial committee report? We are tabling the recruitment retention.
Okay, I didn't have anything formally prepared, I guess, but last time we met, I think one of the struggles we're having is, since we're going year round, I think, what month does it need to, we're trying to protect for
September.
September, teacher salaries. And we're still going through some of the budgetary items. Trying to find the money, it's, what, around 40?
We're still gonna have to protect, salaries in September.
Well, not just protect, come up with.
Come up with.
It's a little different.
We're fully enrolled though in September, even with the families that withdrew. So even with the families that withdrew, Molly attended part of that meeting to provide an update because so much of what happens is driven by enrollment. So even with the families that withdrew, those spots very quickly were filled again.
You're talking about September
So,
2014.
I'm talking about August 2015.
Okay, you're talking forward.
Forward,
Okay, I just want to make sure
those
I'm
spots are
understanding.
full, so we're
Okay.
fully enrolled. And actually, the committee's gonna have to meet again, because there is, depending on, they're gonna have to very critically look at enrollment, because, they may need to hire another teacher.
With the current
With
numbers.
the current numbers, it's
What-
tight, and
what-
so,
What level?
well, that is gonna be a discussion that is gonna have to happen with GPS, that's not something the finance committee
Right.
is gonna be able to discuss, so we're gonna have to bring, Dr. Plum was actually at that meeting.
Okay.
And so that's a consideration that is gonna be larger than the finance committee, so that meeting is gonna have to happen very quickly. However, the good news is that, the budget looks very healthy so far. The committee actually just ran out of time, we went through the spreadsheet line item by line item, and it does look like the deficit will be eliminated. We have to continue, Alan we were at the meeting, it was just a grueling 2 hours of going line item by line item, but the real focus of that meeting was making sure we were gonna be out of the deficit, and it looks very promising.
By June?
By
By
June.
August?
No, it has to be by the end of this fiscal year, the end of the fiscal year, so that looks good, and then the second, issue was making sure that we can cover payroll in September, because with the fluctuation in enrollment, that is one of the drivers of gap loan approval. And so we wanna make sure that we can protect salaries in September, and it looks really promising. It looks very, very good, but, the committee needs to meet again just to solidify that.
And was Advance at that meeting?
They were not able to attend that meeting, and they will be,
That's a problem, isn't it?
no, it wasn't a
Okay.
problem. They need to be at the next meeting, because we had to we were forming our questions for them at this meeting, where Denise is gonna email the questions for them at the next meeting, and they will either be they need to be at the meeting or on the phone,
Right. Or Skype or something.
or Skype or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that they were not there.
They need to, yeah. They will have to be at the next one, though, and they know that. And they will be there. So that meeting has to happen very quickly, and I think what's gonna happen, is I'm just an ad hoc member, but Alan was there, and I think they're gonna end up being at, just about every financial committee meeting from this point forward. It's gonna be part of their scope of work,
Yep, yes,
as it should be.
okay,
How's that one?
I'm sorry.
Denise said it's,
They have no problem doing
the
that.
relationship is much improved.
Okay, good.
That was my question, I was trying to
Much
ask.
improved, yeah.
Wasn't right?
Mhm.
Okay,
She said it's much improved.
okay.
Alan, anything else from the?
Just gotta do some more numbers to pad our account for teacher salaries in September.
Okay, I've got a question for Chris. Going back to the GPS meetings, board committee, membership. Did any parent express an interest? Did you have a chance to explain that we have openings on all of our committees and indeed board? Did that ever come up?
Board committees, well, the committee, alright, so,
Curriculum.
yeah, I think
Curriculum, financial?
we weren't, I mean,
I
obviously.
know that wasn't your goal, but.
Yeah, well, and
It's not
also,
what's
it's not
happening.
our purview to invite parents necessarily to a board committee,
Right,
but,
when you said involvement, that we are looking for parents to become involved in
Yeah.
the school.
And skill sets.
That is a way they could be in
Right.
response to the
Right, just
general
curious if
question.
oh, absolutely,
Not
you're saying,
Generic question
did,
about board.
did parents, approach us
No,
about
I'm
one?
just curious whether you mentioned that.
No,
Okay.
we didn't feel we had a right to
Right.
mention that, so that's really it.
Okay, but we are looking,
Absolutely, you should, yeah, you should.
Yeah, there's,
Okay.
yeah.
okay, all right, thank you, just curious.
And
Okay.
first, just by recommendation, a budget committee moving into your first projections would be good to have a committee going pretty quickly, because you want to get your first projections pretty soon,
Yeah.
real soon.
We've got a committee, and we're welcome, we would not turn down help.
Okay. That's one that bores everybody.
We would not turn down help,
But when you-
it's particularly for accountants.
If there's a question of transparency
It is.
around finances,
Right.
that's the
Welcome
place
aboard.
where every dime
Right.
is acknowledged and on track.
Welcome
So-
aboard,
so
there we're,
I have a question. Is it appropriate in the Branchline Express to put out a notice requesting parent involvement in board committees?
I don't see why not. You could ask
Fine.
Ms. Molly to do that, I don't see why not.
I think it should come from the board.
Yeah, well, Ms. Molly puts it out, I mean,
Yeah.
the board could
Yeah.
offer that, but Ms. Molly would, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Do you have a
So-
board section of the Branchline Express?
We do.
Okay.
Would you be willing just to, one sentence, just, we're
Your
looking
name,
for.
could I ask the English teacher to do?
Okay. I'll draft it and run it by you.
The English
You could
teacher.
even do a compound sentence.
I can, and I will. As an example of a compound sentence.
I like semicolons myself.
Thank you.
I'll add a semicolon.
That'd be great, yes, we would not turn down help.
Okay.
It is not a very hot and well-attended work group.
Okay. That was my only, my other concern is that, was it reflected in the committee meeting, I'm sorry, I couldn't be there, that even though we are at our targeted numbers, we still have to plan for people dropping out before the start of the year.
That
So
was
are we
accounted
over
for.
budget?
Yes, that was
How
accounted
much
for.
over are we?
So we planned.
Overbooked is the word I use.
So we actually,
Folders.
we planned, well, we're at 129 enrolled, and actually, we planned for 10 to 15% attrition. We looked at this scenario of, we actually looked at 3 scenarios. We looked at, full enrollment and then a couple, over. We looked at exact enrollment, and then we looked at, we call it kind of the doomsday scenario, like.
Under.
What grossly under-enrolled. And even with the grossly under-enrolled scenario, I mean, the budget looked pretty good. The other consideration is that we're opening on August 10th, and even if we're under-enrolled, we still have some time,
To get into the numbers.
to get it to really do a little bit more recruitment. And so it looks very, very promising. Molly with recruitment and retention, she does not have that sense that she had last year, of concern.
Well, what I recall as a board member sitting here in the spring last year was that when we were looking at the numbers, there was not a sense that we would not reach that at all. And when we opened in September, we were below the number that we needed to be, and we
We were
thought we would
grossly
be.
below the number we
Right, I was
really
trying to
needed to
be nice about it, right?
Right, we've got over enrollment, and Molly doesn't have that sense, and I know that, that was the same sense last time, but I think what she did is she over enrolled, and there's a waiting list. So I think she,
We also had a waiting list last year, I thought.
I don't,
Denise, do you recall?
It was a lot smaller.
it was a lot
But we did
smaller.
have a waiting list,
Yes,
yeah.
it was a lot smaller, and I don't think we had 129 enrolled
No,
when we
no, we
started
had like
last year.
100.
Yeah, I think the enrolled numbers is the
The
difference
enrolled
in my
number
mind,
was much
because
smaller.
there were
Right.
plenty of people looking, but the enrolled numbers weren't anywhere close.
And I have to say, I think what's different this year is when the people that were unhappy left, very quickly, those spots became full again. So I think the people that are happy in this school, we have no advertising budget. We did not advertise. So the folks that are happy here are doing their advertising for us. And I think that speaks volumes about the school.
Okay.
So, I think that's encouraging.
Yeah, speaking of Molly again, not that you're Miss Molly, but one of the things that I always found interesting as a board member was when Miss Molly gave her cultural lead report, she would give us a sense of how many tours she gave in the month and how many new families were enrolling, and it wasn't included in this month. So,
It's because, I think that's because she's doing the interested family meetings now, and that sort of is that same group.
okay,
You know, because we've gone through the enrollment process, we've enrolled those folks, and now their next step is that meeting, which
Correct me
really
if I-
replaces a tour, you know, so.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the report that we got was based in that this is a rescheduled meeting that was actually the end of March meeting. And I don't know that they've corrected all the reports, or we're ready to have all the reports, because we had to reschedule this meeting for the April numbers and stuff they've done in April, which is when she's done most of the tours and,
Right. She did one on I think she's done 3. She had one
I
Sunday
think
the
they've most
29th.
been done end of March or.
There were
or
2
end of
before
April.
that,
I
so
didn't know that she was able to do it on the weekends.
we got special permission.
Wow.
We have special permission, so. Wow.
Okay, thank you, all the things I
So it
did.
is encouraging, so.
Yeah,
So people are coming even now, so it's pretty encouraging.
okay, great. Those are my only questions about finances.
So, next item on the agenda is the SBSU requested review of the parent concerns and the George Butler. So, as you know, the school received the letter from the investigator in the mail in early March. And, the letter required, so we hired George Butler, the lawyers who did the investigation, and the letter required, him to have that wrapped up. Yes.
We interviewed 2 different lawyers.
Yes, we did, so we selected, SBSU
Right.
required the board to do the interviews, and so we selected George Butler.
From Dickinson?
Right, yeah.
Dickinson Wright.
And, yep, and they
Under a
required,
limited timeframe, right?
Yeah.
They decided to be done within a particular amount of days,
he had to be,
hence part of the reason for that very fast meeting,
yes. Yep. And,
that I couldn't be at, sorry.
yes, that's okay, that's okay. And he was supposed to be, have this wrapped up by April 2nd, and an extension was granted.
He requested an
He
extension.
did, he requested an extension. So I expected that to be completed, posted with the letter on the website by now. However, it is still incomplete, and I requested a status update, and there was no response yet. So as soon as I receive a status update, I'll let you know, and as soon as the report is done, the report and the letter will be posted as instructed by SBSU. But I've heard nothing from them,
And
nothing from Mr. Butler, and nothing from our legal counsel as of yet.
And the request from George Butler for the extension did not mention, I didn't see it, did not mention,
I have not sent, I
A
did not
date.
see it.
oh, that's right, because the board did not see
I
it.
did not see it, did not come to me.
It went to SBSU.
I don't know who it went to.
Got it.
I don't know who
We
it went
don't
to.
even know who it went to. Okay.
So I think that that's something that we need to clarify with council, because I think an extension
It's open.
is open right now, and we need to ask what are the items that still need to be done?
Yeah.
How long will that take? And, what is his projected, timeframe, because we have no idea right now.
Right.
And,
Costing us more money.
yeah, I mean,
For-
it's,
for
it's,
financially.
it's kind of an open, it's not an open spending account, but in some ways, with that, an open date, that goes past
Right.
where we gave them the time frame, and it's
And-
gone past that, so.
Right, we also requested an approximate number of hours when we
That's
interviewed
correct.
both the lawyers, so
And so I think that needs to be clarified, so please let us know when you hear, and if there's not a satisfactory answer, then I think that we need to request specifics about dates, times, expectations for completing, and why the work needed to be extended, because you didn't give that to us or anyone.
And the board did hire him, correct?
Correct.
That was my understanding.
You were there, yes.
Yeah. And the fact that he did not request an extension from us is.
Something that needs to be addressed with him.
Questioning. Okay, so just for an update, you have called both our attorney and George Butler and asked for a status update, and you've not heard back from either one.
Correct.
Okay. That's my understanding of where we are now.
So,
Okay, well, I think this would be an appropriate time for me just to say that I appreciate, and I'd like the minutes to reflect the fact that Stacy has put in a lot of hours and time and energy into following up on this issue, on helping to coordinate the work with the special counsel and the lawyer. I know she's been in touch with the lawyer and SVSU many times, and the leadership many times. Maybe 10, 20 hours a week she's volunteering her time, and she already works more than full-time in a very responsible job, and I, as a board member, are appreciative of it.
thank you.
So I just would like the board to acknowledge the work that Stacy has done. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
I'll just make a quick general statement. I know many people don't realize that we do put in extra time. We do care a lot. And I want to thank the board for just the time over the past 6 months. It's been definitely an interesting experience since I started in October. But I wanted to take the time to just to thank Stacy for all the time she's put in, because I know how much you've done for INSIP and have been doing. So I just wanted to say thanks also, just to take the opportunity.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Next, speaking of board business,
Yes. Any other board members?
well, we have the new business.
Oh, yes.
The new business, which I'm looking forward to.
Big fun.
Looking forward to
Big fun.
proofing some policy.
Big fun. Okay, so we do have some legally required policies to approve today. When we met with a representative from National Charters, he went over some of the policies with us, and I sent them all to you. Did everybody have a chance to read them?
I did.
They are all legally required policies.
It was very exciting reading,
I
I say.
can only imagine how much you must have enjoyed it.
60 pages?
They're 64. They are all
64
legally
pages.
required. I read them all very thoroughly though, because typos do happen.
Thank you, Stacy.
Typos do happen, but they did not happen in these 64 pages. So, do we have a motion? Would you like to go through each one?
No.
I have been through each one.
Okay, so.
I will make a motion unless you all want to go through them.
No.
Okay.
So I will make a motion to accept the policies
Okay.
as listed in the
Disposition form?
disposition form
Okay.
as they are written.
All of them.
Okay,
all of them.
consent, okay, consent motion,
I would love to second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. All right, thank you.
Thank you for spearheading that, Stacy.
Thank you.
A thankless job.
It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. All right. Anything else?
No, it says other correspondence.
Yeah, you had.
Other correspondence, there was no other correspondence that actually came to the board this month. Nothing came. Good.
Just checking in.
Yep, just checking the no other correspondence. Anybody get anything?
Nope.
All right. Any other new business?
Just like to say it's nice to approve some policies. Get some work from policies done.
And Denise, we will take these, we'll send these to, get this to Elizabeth Van Doren, and then they will send them. So the process for this now is these policies, once we approve them, is we send this disposition form to the National Charter School Institute, and they actually, will go ahead and kind of put the branch line stamp on them, update them, and they send them back to Denise, and then they become part of our online policies, and they send us a hard copy, and Denise keeps them in the transparency, so that at any time, any parent who wants to see the board policies, or any staff member can go in the office, but we also have access to them online, all the board members do.
And is it on our website? Is that
No,
supposed-
but we are going to put them on the website.
That's what we thought I
Yeah,
remembered.
we will put them on the website, but there was no sense in putting an incomplete
Right,
policy
right.
manual on the website, so we needed to wait till it was
Is the
done.
board policy as it stands now, before the revisions are on, isn't that on our website?
No,
Okay, so this will be the first year?
this will be the first year.
Okay,
on
thank
the-
you for clarifying.
And when we met with policy before, they discussed then some procedural, secondary aspects of some of these.
They did, and they did.
You know, and I don't know if this is the right forum to talk about it, but I know that we were talking about, depending on the budget and other things, whether some of those would be helpful.
I asked for a grant. I asked for a grant. I just said, we're a startup school and we're in a deficit, could you possibly, I asked for a grant
Oh, okay.
and see if we can get it.
That'd be
And
great.
all they can say is no.
Because some of those policies I think would be additive to what we have, and, you know, there were some that kind of were eye-opening about it, and know that
Oh,
this
the
was
000,
something.
yep, I
So a lot
heard
of
that.
those that were something that were
So-
there, that would really help clarify.
Mhm. So we'll look at some of those, and then the procedures to back them up are the ones I asked for the grant for.
Right, and that's what I was, yeah, the procedural side too,
Yeah.
because things like the cardiac arrest stuff and all that.
Mhm.
I mean, we have that, but,
We have it,
we
but
have
there's a
that.
lot of the other ones.
but there's a
that
lot of
are really-
others that are additive to the policies that are in there that aren't necessarily the procedures for.
Thank you for asking that, because that reminds me, when Barbara was the board president last year, she and I spent a lot of time working on the board policy update. Is that something that's still around, that's still being used?
Those have been completed mostly, and the ones that weren't completed were taken care of with this.
Okay.
And some of those additive ones would be supplementary to that as well.
Okay, and then one last question is, I don't remember. I forget.
And
Oh,
so,
grant. Usually people don't just give you grant, you have to apply for grant, and there's a lot of paperwork and writing. I'd be happy to help with that.
okay, this was more of a,
Just a gift?
it was more of a gift, I just
Okay.
asked for it, could you just give it to us?
Okay, just
I just
clarify.
literally said, could you just give it to us?
Okay,
So, we'll see what they say.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for looking out for our best interests.
Policy guys?
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll see what the policy guys are working with, so. Because he had mentioned it at the meeting, actually. when
He actually brought the book with him.
He brought the book.
And I said, well, what is the blue book? And he goes, well, those are the procedures. And I said, well, can we have those? And he said, well, no, you have to buy them. I said, well,
And he mentioned the ways to do that, so.
and he mentioned some ways to do that. And
I
I
understand
think we
now.
could,
Okay,
I think we could do that.
okay, thank you.
So, okay. And if there's no other business, well, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second by Catherine.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried. Thank you.
7:25.
Isn't that good?
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for the visitors.
Thank you for coming.
Now what about this?
That's just with it, so executive session.
Be nice if they would have been,
Me too, because
it would have been nice if they would have given that.
But this is just for background information. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.